Thank you everyone for joining. Good afternoon right now. Selamat siang. Because I think there is uh, more is Indonesian and Malaysian people here. Welcome to our webinar series. This is the part three of the third series of our webinar series. So right now for the part three, title is ensuring business continuity with let me why my screen is closed and compliant with the backup, restore, and disaster recovery strategy with the MariaDB Enterprise. Yeah, will be brought by Miss Kanti. I will introduce you, Miss Kanti. She is a senior solution engineer from MariaDB. And yeah, right now I think right now it's 16 years already, Kanti, not 15 years because it was on uh, the first version of MariaDB was released on 2009. I think it's already 16 years right now, and yeah, first, we mentioned before in the previous webinar that right now MariaDB is used by about 75% of the Fortune 500 company that already use MariaDB, and also more than 1 million download from the Docker Hub. And last week I talked with a university in Indonesia, one of the famous university in Indonesia. Then they are still using MariaDB. Most of their students download it from SAM or LAM for their web development. Then they use the MariaDB. And I checked from the SAM or LAM website last year. It was downloaded more than 2 million download in Indonesia itself. So I checked it is I think the MariaDB is very popular uh, database, especially also in university and also in the students. And I think the first country that the most download SAM or LAM that still use or with MariaDB is from India. It's more than 3.5 uh, billion or million downloaded from there. So I want to introduce my company. We are from Crash Info Solution. We are founded in 2012 in Singapore, but right now our headquarters is in Malaysia. We have several brands like in Indonesia, India, in USA, Australia also, and we are partner or distributor of MariaDB since 2015. Yeah, and also in Indonesia, and we have a strong MariaDB consultant team with the experience and setting and securing MariaDB at scale. And also we have a migration team. We have experienced migration team that can migration from Oracle or from other database to MariaDB. So I think after this I will pass to Nancy to continue the presentation. Let me check.
Thank you. Do you want me to take control of the, present my presentation?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I have moved the presenter access to you.
Okay. Thank you. Let me 1 second. Sorry. Take some time here. Yeah. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Can
We
see
have
it.
seen your screen. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
All
I
right.
think you
So,
can set it as a presentation both here.
yeah. So this is where we stopped, right? So let me start this conversation here. Thank you very much, Adi, for the introduction. And thank you all for your time today. Again, welcome back to the webinars who are all attending in the series, which is today is the third episode. And, the first few we talked about, the introduction to MariaDB, and the second in the second presentation, we were, focusing on more of a high availability and security features of MariaDB in the second episode. And, people who are joining for this third episode, this is mainly going to focus on the business continuity and, with the backup and restore options that MariaDB is going to offer you. On top of that, we do have disaster recovery strategies with MariaDB Enterprise, which is like a overlap from the last session we had, because in the last session we have a HADR strategy in which I was explaining to you about how Galera is set up and what is the cooperative monitoring from MaxScale, how you can automate. That is also part of your disaster recovery and HA, needs. And so there will be a little bit of an overlap because, we will be touching on those aspects as well today, right? So as you know, I'm Kanti here working for MariaDB for the past 1 year plus as a senior solutions engineer. So, so let me move on. And okay, let me start this conversation with this, kind of a complete enterprise grade platform overview, right? So for those of you, who missed the last few sessions, I want you to get a glimpse of what MariaDB as a platform, the ecosystem is offering you. So let me spend some time here explaining as a recap as well for, people who are attending here as a third session. So, where we will be focusing on today would be the enterprise backup that you see on the left-hand side as part of the MariaDB tools. Along with that, I'm going to also talk about this enterprise replication and enterprise cluster. And then we will be focusing on the high availability aspects and failover orchestration and replica rebuild. So these are all the main concepts that we will be focusing on today, which will enable you with the business continuity of your, critical applications in your farm, on top of, the data reliability because of your backup, a strategy that you want to, architect for your environment. So, as you know, the core, the fulcrum of MariaDB lies on its engines, which you see at the bottommost, workloads, which is we offer you with different engines that includes a transactional engine, analytical engine, semi-structured data processing. Everything is possible under one roof, which is called MariaDB. And so this OLTP as well as OLAP are possible by the engines called InnoDB as well as Column Store, and they can all run between each other, transferring the data seamlessly. So that means everything analytical as well as transaction intensive workloads you can manage under one platform called MariaDB. And so we do offer you with the MariaDB enterprise replication offerings and the enterprise cluster features. And of course, for our enterprise customers, because we have got a lot of financial institution customers, for them, enterprise auditing is a must. It's like highly compliant, and you need to answer to your auditors as well as part of your financial institutions needs, right? So we provide you with enterprise grade auditing, which means it is a fine grind auditing possibility, which we talked about, in the second of this series, in which we were focusing on predominantly on the security features as well. And so that is part of this enterprise security. So on the left-hand side, as you see on MariaDB tools, we call, an important feature, a tool called enterprise backup. So this backup is essential, as everyone in this, audience would agree, because without a backup of a good database and a tested backup, I think we will not call that as a real prudent database, right? So you need to have a fallback database backup always in place, which is thoroughly tested. And MariaDB offers you today the enterprise backup. And this also with an improved performance, which means that you can do an enterprise backup, a full backup, incremental or a differential, totally in an online environment, right? In today's dynamic world, no application can afford to have a downtime, right? All the applications are 24 by 7, always up and running. You have your own customers across the globe accessing your applications. So anytime during the day or night, your application and database is always busy. So, but there is always a worry in your mind, right? So when you kickstart this backup, database backup, whether it is going to lock my system, whether my users are going to be like, waiting for the results to be returned in a performance is going to be degraded for them or not. So that kind of a worry you can take out from your mind now, because MariaDB, the latest version of MariaDB in the enterprise platform, it gives you an option to completely do a backup online. So it does lock the data pages in a very, very minimalistic way. So that means anytime the application can access the data, instantaneously while the backup is still ongoing. So that is the, kind of an enterprise grade requirement from our customers, and we are, giving them the solution today. On top of it, with an enterprise backup, there is one important essential information which we need to always pay attention to, which is MariaDB monitoring. So that means anytime, you might have scheduled your backups, and you might always want to constantly monitor them as well, right? So in this world, always it is like everything is prone to fail. So anytime you have scheduled a backup, always it is good to have a good prudent monitoring also in place. And that is an effective way of alerting you in case of any failures with the backup jobs or anything like that. So it is always good to have both of them kind of architected together and put in place in your environment. So with that said, on the right hand side, I don't want to go into the details because it is by itself is a big integration tools that MariaDB provides you with. As we have got only the time today to talk about this backup and restoration and high HADR setup. So let us move on to the next slide, in which we will start to talk about what are the backup features MariaDB has got to offer you, right? So why do you need to have a backup of your database, right? So this is an important question. So in many of the shops today, people think about why do I need a database backup? Because in today's world, we do have a multiple copies of different, in the cloud environment, there is always a guaranteed 6 copies provided to you. And there is always a redundant copies are always kept in the cloud. If you run your database on a cloud platform, or you have your own mirroring, kind of database mirroring from the OS level and all those things. So do I really need to have a backup that fires from within the database? Is it essential? So it is definitely a necessity for any organization. If you are reliant of your data for your operations, there is always a need for you to do a good prudent backup, database backup that is always available. The reasons are, it does protect you against various threats. For example, you have multiple different copies of your backup, the data images sitting on different nodes, different availability zones, or sites. But what happens if somebody goes and deletes the data, accidentally, dropping a table with critical mass data in it, right? So this dropped data image gets replicated to different places, right? So whatever you restore from the different sites, it is also going to have the same copy in which the data is already corrupted, the data table is already lost. So there is no way we can get back those tables because it is already getting replicated. So in this kind of a scenario, where you can go back and rely on is your database backup, right? So whatever the backup that you have done prior to the accident, right, that can always be restored. So it is always crucial to have a foolproof database backup in place. So that helps you with your business continuity. And of course, for many financial institutions, many, kind of insurance companies and regulatory compliance needs you to have, proper backup in place and well tested. So that is a reason, even in many of the companies, many of the organizations, it is a must for you to do a DR kind of a DR drill, right? So that means your DR should always be up and running, and also there should be always a test of a backup restoration test, which is always once in 6 months or something, so that you ensure whatever that redundant backup strategies that you have put in place is always working fine for you, right? Of course, for the data recoverability, as I mentioned, all the accidents, all this kind of data theft, everything can be redone if you have a proper backup in place. Of course, the last thing, which is not the least, the peace of mind, right? So any day, if you have a foolproof backup and which is fully tested, and you always have a peace of mind, which is essential for a database administrators, right? Now, so the recovery requirements, in your every organization has their own unique way of recovery of your data, right? So it differs from places to places. That determines the way you want to strategize your backup. So you need to be prepared on what are the important questions, and you want to answer before you define your backup and recovery strategy, right? So these three are very, very crucial for you to decide on how you want to design your backup architecture. So we call it as RTO, RPO, and risk mitigation. So what is recovery time objective and what is recovery point objective? So these two are the very essential, important things to make you take a call on how you want to design your backup strategy, right? So let us go and understand what it means by RTO and RPO. So recovery time objective. So that means, see, something wrong has happened in your environment. Database is down, right? So the people are working on it. The database administrators are struggling to recover the data, restore from the backup or anything, right? So how much time you can afford to wait until then? And you can afford to give to the infrastructure team so that they can recover the data and bring up the database online for you. So the time that you can afford to wait until the database becomes online, so this becomes a recovery time objective. So for example, you can afford to have a database downtime for 1 hour. You can give a 1 hour time downtime for the infrastructure team to restore your data. So that is what is deciding your, RTO. And what is your recovery point objective? So that means in any failure situation, until what time you can go back. So until what time your data can go back. And so with the previous image where you want to restore the point in time to. So that is what it is, it is going to decide about it. So the last time where you have a foolproof backup for which you can go back and restore that too. So this is called the recovery point objective. So these two are the ones that you want to mainly focus on to design your database backup architecture. And another one is the risk mitigation. What are the failure scenarios you want to address? For example, what are the different scenarios your data goes corrupted, or somebody accidentally deleting the data, and the recovery scenarios, how frequently you want to recover, until what time you can afford to lose the business so that you can replay the application to re-inject the data. So many features that you want to, risk mitigations that you want to analyze, and based on that, you have you decide on what are the failures that you want to address as part of this backup restoration strategy. So that means, for example, if you have a host failure, if you have a data center failures, right? So the data center failures could also include multiple nodes also failures, and you don't have any DR in place. So where do you fall back on? You will be falling back on only your database backup restoration in that case. Of course, for the data corruption or loss, database backup is the only way to go. And of course, you may also have a legal regulations in which you may want to provide the regulations needs, and for the industry standards as well. For your customers confidence, you should also have a database backup and restoration well tested. So now the backup and recovery systems you may want to design. How do you want to design? Based on the RTO, RPO, and whatever the risks that you want to address on top of it. For example, in a financial institutions, right? So if you have a the online payment systems, right? So in which the transactions are very intensive, heavy, and very intensive during the day. So those databases, maybe we call it as a 5 nines or 7 nines. So that means their SLA are supposed to be 99.9999%. So you might want to have a backup strategy which will serve these kind of requirements. On top of it, if you have an HR database, which means that it can afford to be down for about a couple of hours. That's not a problem. It's not going to stop the business, activity. So accordingly, you can design your backup and restoration strategy, because you don't want to overkill your systems also to have, different, very frequent incremental backups and things like that, which is like a overkill for the system. So that is why you have to pay enough attention and enough, time and effort to architect your backup and restoration strategy according to your real business needs. Yeah. Now, coming to, I'm sorry, I have some comments here saying it looks like you are sharing videos or animations. Do you want to include your computer audio while you are sharing? I'm using my computer audio only. Is there any problem? Am I audible or?
Yes, Kanti, it's fine. You can continue.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Faisal. So, yeah. So as part of this, see different backups that we talked about, how crucial they are for our, every business. So now I'm going to dive into, the types of backup options that MariaDB provides you with. Okay. So we call it in two different architecture. One is called a physical backup. The other one is called a logical backup. So MariaDB provides you with both options. So what are these two different ways of backing up the environment, backing up your database? So let me start from the features, right? So what is the tool that we provide you to do this physical and logical? So we call it as a MariaDB-backup, which is a tool which we provide you to do a physical complete backup. And the other one is called the MariaDB dump, which is to, essentially do a logical backup. What is the difference between a physical and logical backup? Physical in the sense that it does back up all your physical data files, including the log files, everything into your backup directory. So this is called physical backup. And logical backup is the one that you want to just back up the data which you need to only, which you care about. For example, selective tables, selective databases. So in that aspect, you do a logical backup. So the logical backup does a backup of your data along with your SQL statements, which is humanly readable. So in that sense that, it gives you a SQL statements also to insert data as part of this backup. So that file is a text file which you can import across to any other environment and, import that same logical backup. So these are the two different, backup strategies MariaDB provides you with. So the flexibility when you consider physical, so it requires when you take up physical backup and restore onto a different environments, you need to have a, MariaDB version compatibility and hardware compatibility. All these things are essential. But for logical, it is highly flexible. You can just, back up this using a logical backup and restore onto a different environment or a different, even MySQL, and in some other heterogeneous also it is possible with a little bit of a changes, right? So it is that much flexible for you. And granularity, so restoring for a physical database which has got fully backed up data and physical files, if you want to restore only specific tables and specific databases, it will be complicated. So the granularity level is definitely missing in the full physical backup, but in logical it is possible. So as I said, anything that you need, you can only back up that and you will be able to restore only that. So granularity level, the logical backup is helpful for you. And of course the performance is like, physical backup is quite fast because it is just backing up the entire database, the file system, location to a different location. So that's always faster instead of this logical backup, which needs to get into the database, and every single statement it has to prepare the sequels. So it takes a little longer. So that is the advantage of physical backup. And best suited for, it is always good to have larger production databases where the performance is essential for you to do a backup. So it is always good to have a physical backup in those kind of environments. And if you have a smaller databases where you want to, cross-platform and a cross heterogeneous environment wherein you have to bring up your data, then, in that place, logical will be helpful for you. So these are the different types of backups that MariaDB provides you with. So according to your needs, you can always configure your architecture. So now you may want to decide, right, which is best for you, right? So you may see the left hand side where everything is down. So that means what you are left with only restoring your physical backup, right? On the right hand side, you have some user errors, right? So user does some, deletes accidentally, dropping some of the tables wherein you may want to restore from the logical. So that means both of the things are prone to happen in your environment, right? So it is important for you to have both in place. For example, having a physical backup regularly and logical backup for any hot tables or, but the data that you think is very essential, very crucial for restoration. So it is always good to have copies of those kind of tables as a logical backup also as part of your backup strategy. So it is good to have both, a combination of both in your environment. So let me just give you a command line examples. It is not an exhaustive command line options here, because as you all know, MariaDB always gives you lots and lots of options, right? Lots and lots of switches as part of every single command, right? So as you see the top one, which is a logical backup of all databases. It is a simple MariaDB a dump. So that is the utility. This is the first, that is the utility name, which is MariaDB-dump. And of course, the other switches, as you see, all for, your options that you want to provide you with. So here, the first statement is just to do all databases, but you are provided with various options even to choose selective tables or selective databases as part of this logical backup. And the second one is the backup of the full database server, which is essentially all the databases that lie on that instance, you can back up at one go. And the incremental changes, yes, in many of the instances, many of the database environment in production, it is always good to have an incremental backups, right? So I'm sure the audience will understand the difference between a full backup and incremental backup, right? So the, as you know, the full backup is, it's going to back up the entire structure of the entire structure as well as the data of the entire instance. But in incremental backup, what it is going to do is it's just going to start the backup from the latest point in time where it was recently backed up, that being a differential backup or another incremental backup. So essentially, this is going to be a very, very small chunk, and it is going to take a very less time to back up your data, but it is going to guarantee you the point in time recovery options. For example, you take a full backup in the middle of the night every day, but you can't afford to have a full backup during the daytime when your user intensive operations are on. So what you can do, you can have a scheduled incremental backups in between during the days. So that means the incremental backup, I said, as I said, it is not going to acquire a lot of logs, and it's not going to take a long time, but at the same time, it is just going to back up the changes that have happened, right from the previous night or right from the sequential incremental backups that have happened. So anytime for example, the previous night, the full backup has happened, and the next day, if you have a crash at 3 p.m. in the middle of the day when the operations are on, what you can do? You can restore the full backup on top of all the incremental backups you can restore in place, so that at least you have every incremental backup that happens every 1 hour. So that means essentially the loss of the entire application, the business is just going to be an hour's, business. Instead of the entire day's business loss, you recover your environment until the recent 1 hour restoration point. So that is what we call it as point in time recovery. which MariaDB provides you with an option with incremental changes as well as differential changes. You can also schedule differential backups using MariaDB, in which you will be pointing the latest backup image as the full backup instead of the previous differential backup. So the ultimate difference between a differential and incremental backups are, the ones that differential backup always relies on the previous full backup, but incremental backup is it relies on the previous incremental or a differential backup. Yeah. So let me move on. The key restoration steps that you want to always, pay attention to, because how you want to restore is the one that you want to understand also as part of this MariaDB backup strategy, right? So you need to understand how the restoration takes place. So these are all the high level steps that I want to mention here, where you prepare the backup. So you need to identify where you want to restore to, and you have to start, there are various commands. I don't want to get into those command level details here, because otherwise it will become documentation by itself. You can always refer back to MariaDB document, which has got plenty of options as well as plenty of switches. So there are commands for which, you can prepare the backup, and what you need to do, you have to stop the MariaDB and, clear the existing data, which is optional, but it is always recommended to do it. And you can do a copy back of the files, and you can start MariaDB and verify the restored data. So these are all the key high-level restoration steps that MariaDB expects you to do as part of the restoration. And now let's talk about this binary logs, how you can also do further on top of this physical and logical backups and the backup options of full differential and incremental backups. MariaDB also provides you with another option of doing a binary logs backup, which is a very, very important thing for you to, even after doing a point in time recovery of 1 hour old data, if you still want to, restore your data further after the incremental data backup is already done, there is still an option for you, which means that using a binary logs option, which means the tool used is called MariaDB-binlog, using which, this is a tool again with a lot of switches available that helps you read through your binary logs and restore your point in time until the time that you want it to be restored to, which is really handy for many places wherein they can't even afford to miss out on the data for about 5 minutes or 10 minutes, backdated data. It is not possible to be restored. So in this kind of a situation, what we can do, we can use this binary log, backup option, which is similar to, Oracle redo log restoration option, right? So MariaDB provides you with this, and there is a flashback switch also, which also helps you read through the binary logs and rewrite the sequence. For example, as part of your accident, you would have done a delete, right? In a SQL query, you would have been, instead of doing an insert or a select, you put a delete statement over there. So what happens, this flashback switch will go and read that bin log and rewrite that query. Instead of delete, it rewrites that query as insert, right, with that same option, and re-ingest the data back to the database. So that is what we call it as a flashback. So the system is so intelligent enough to rewrite the query for you, and it re-ingests the data back to the database. So this is how a flashback switch works, and this is possible when you do this MariaDB-binlog as a tool. So now, after having all these options, and you architected a backup strategy for your environment, it is always to essential for you to do a restoration testing and ensure that whatever you have strategized, whatever you have architected is working for you, right? So you need to do a thorough end-to-end testing from your application side as well as from the database restoration to make sure all the the restored data is up to date and it is error free, for example, corruption free, all those things. So you also want to strategize your retention requirement as per your compliance needs or anything. So how do you want to retain your data, the backup images? And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the monitoring is very essential as well, because anytime you may want to also always look at the way the database backups are happening, and you should always have a good foolproof alerting in place so that in case of any failures, you can always address as soon as possible. And the security concept of a database backup, which is also very essential, right? So you don't want others to read through your data. For example, all the logical backup which comes through all the SQL statements, if it is possible to read, and anybody can there is always a security flaw here, right? So MariaDB provides you with a lot of encryption options as well, so you can utilize for both logical as well as physical backup. There are some switches using which you can encrypt the backup image, as well as the during the logical backup also there are switches using which you can also encrypt your data. That is also possible. All right. So now, so these are all the things that we talked about. It is for the database backup and restoration strategies, right? So this is the essential part of the database administrator's job. And other than that, we do provide you with disaster recovery options, like I mentioned in the last webinar as well. So I want to repeat it here again, how we ensure the disaster recovery possibilities as part of the MariaDB product offering, which is MaxScale is the product which gives you an option to do set up a foolproof disaster recovery strategies for your environment. As you see here in the picture, on the left hand side is the Singapore environment. On the right hand side, you have got a Vietnam environment in which you have a DR strategy in place, right? So in Singapore, DC, you have 2 MaxScales, and in Vietnam as well, you have 2 MaxScales. So now, if you see on the left-hand side, the green one is the writer node. So, at any point in time, all the application connects to this, through MaxScale and writes to this the writer node on the green color. So all these data, it gets replicated to the 2 nodes in Singapore as well as to the 3 nodes in Vietnam. So anytime during, if some of the nodes go down, for example, the writer node goes down, MaxScale promotes one of these, replicas as master. So in case the entire Singapore goes down, right? So you need to recover your database. You need to have your application up and running on Vietnam, right? So at that time, one of these MaxScales takes control of the situation, and it promotes one of these replicas as master, and it redirects all the application connectivity straight to this place. So that means it is completely automated and completely, without your human intervention, this failover happens. So this is only possible by MariaDB's MaxScale and the configurations which are essential for making this automation possible, which is cooperative monitoring that we talked about in detail in last seminar. So this is one of the important aspect which we cover as part of the disaster recovery, which is also essential for our implementation, right? So this one of the classic architecture that we want to share from our customer environment, which is ServiceNow, which is a prestigious MariaDB user. And as you see here, the primary site on top is working at the moment. And you see on the left-hand side, the client connectivity that happens. And through the MaxScales that are working from the primary site. And you see one of the MaxScales out of the 4 is active. The rest are all passive, right? And the DR site is just a replica of primary, but it is having all the data in place, and it has got 2 MaxScales also in place. So anytime if the primary site completely goes down also, as I explained in the previous slide, the DR is immediately able to take over, and that is completely automated for you. Yeah. So the next one would be, so this is a typical 2 data center geo cluster setup with low latency in a pictorial format. I just want to explain here. And we touched upon Galera cluster also in our last episode. And here is another explanation about it, how this also helps you with your business continuity and a HADR requirement. So that is the reason I just depicted this picture here. As you see here, on the left hand side is the production. On the right hand side, you see the second side, right? So the entire architecture has got these are the important MariaDB server nodes, which has got 5 nodes in total. and it has got a Galera, synchronization that happens between all the 5 nodes. And on top, if you see the Galera, the production has got 2 max scales, and the DR second site also has a 2 max scale environment. So anytime, and also on the left, if you see, this is another asynchronous replication which flows through one of the nodes to another replica, in which there is a, if you want to segregate your backup process or any kind of a report generation activities or anything, so this replica will help you out with that. So similarly, on the second site also, you might be having that site specific requirement on, backing up or any specific needs of report generation for the second site. There is another replica you can configure. So this way, in any point in time, any failure of the node is addressed by the Galera nodes on for the writer, nodes requirement. At the same time, you have a replicas which can also take over of your, replication needs or a report generation nodes. So this is a typical kind of a environment which has both synchronous as well as asynchronous replication configured according to the needs, right? So that way you are protected both from your synchronous requirement as well as asynchronous data requirement, replication needs. So with that said, let me move on to a demo, right? So now what we want to demonstrate here is a Galera environment in which what we talked about, the backup and restoration, right? How as part of the Galera setup, even the Galera architecture itself in the, behind the screen scene, it is able to use the, backup and restoration strategy on bringing up the, restored node and how it is able to join the cluster. So that will be demonstrated now by my colleague Jayesh. Let me stop, and Jayesh, maybe you may want to share.
Yeah. Hi, Kanti. Thank you. Hello,
Sure.
everyone. I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Um,
I think, Sandy, you should move your presenter mode to JS. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So is my screen visible? Can everyone see Docker
Yeah.
desktop here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So right now what I have done is we have a Galera cluster with 3 nodes running on a Docker container here. And we'll show what exactly the nodes look like, what happens when one node goes down, and how Galera performs the recovery. Now, if for those who are not aware of Galera, Galera is clustering plugin. Earlier, it used to be a part of Codership, a company known as Codership, which provides plugin for clustering technologies to MariaDB. 2 months ago, Codership was acquired by MariaDB. So now Galera is an integral part of MariaDB. With Galera, you have you get multi-master write, and it's real multi-master, right? You can write on any node which are part of your cluster. It performs auto recovery. Even when you add a new node, it automatically gets synced up without any manual backup or restoration method, how you need to set up in replication. Now, in front of me, we have a MariaDB Galera container, and it has 3 nodes, 1, 2, and 3. The container ID will be used as a host name, and they are running on port 3307, 3308, and 3309. So we'll just connect one by one. We'll connect 3307 right now. Yep, here I am. And I do show databases. Right now, I do not have any database inside it. I just check whether my Galera cluster is on. So WS rep is variable are the variable that belongs to the Galera cluster. So how you have MySQL config or MariaDB configuration variable, we have Galera configuration variable as well. So WS wrap on is signifies whether your Galera cluster is on or off. And we have a status variable that signifies what is your cluster size. So since I'm using 3 nodes right now, it should be 3. It is 3 here. We verify same thing on all the 3 nodes. So we'll go back here. So databases, right now nothing. It's all system database what we have. Cluster size is 3 and WS web is on. Go back to 3309 and I do show databases, all system databases, what we have right now. So variables, it's on. And when I check the size, it's 3. Okay. Now what I do is I just turn the node 3 down. Yeah. If you see, my node 3 is down. Okay. Now we can also verify when I try to connect node 3, it says I cannot connect. I go back to node 7, the 3307. I check it's connected. Now I recheck my databases. I have same system databases. Now the cluster size is 2. That signifies that one of my node is down and this cluster is still on and up and running. Now what we will do is we will load some data in it. So what I do, I'll just log out. I start with -v. -v is a verbose mode where you can actually see, like suppose I do select host name, you can actually see what queries we have run printed in our output. So I have a predefined file with me that has SQLs in it. It will create a database, it will create a table, it will load some data, and it will also print. So wait. And it's a part of my directory. Yep, it's here. I'll just source it. Yep. Now, if you see, so databases, you have one extra database known as Galera test. I'll use this so that, we are part of it now. Yep. Database is changed. I do show tables. We got one table. I do select star from Galera test table. It's here. The data is here. Now I just come out. I verify the scene on 3308. Again, I do show databases. Oh, it's replicated perfectly. I have to use database. I do select star again and I get the data here. So this means that this is replicated. Now what on 3309? 3309 is still down. That means it has not received any data and it's down. So in normal scenario, when we do these things, we have to take backup, refresh the nodes, do manual things. Now here I just start the replication. I just start the node 3. And I can see the logs here. Yep. It says that the node is synced and it's ready for connection. So I'll go back. I connect it. Yep. Now I'm able to connect. If you see the uptime is 22 seconds. I do show databases. Yep, we have Galera Clust here. And when I use it, I can also see my data. So what happened in the background can be seen from the log files. So when your node was down and it came back up online, it tried to check with the current other two nodes or the current primary node about the position that has changed after it. And whatever the position got changed, it performs an internal state transfer known as SST and IST, and it got sync with all the transaction that has been executed from the time between it went down and it came up. And in this way, you can perform recovery for Galera, and the node is auto sync, and it has multi-write. So if I want to show you the demonstration for multi-write, I'll connect the same node. I log in, I'll do show databases, and I just drop this database. So drop database if exists. Just see now I'm writing this on port 3309, not on 3307. So it's a true multi-write environment. I dropped it. So databases, it's gone. It's not here. And same thing would be reflected on the other nodes as well. But it's not there. So yes, this is a short demo about our enterprise offering product Galera cluster, and this provides you with a multi-write environment.
Thank you, Jayesh. Adi, you can finish that, and we are done with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, James. Yeah, Mr. There is some question from the chat. Can you see the chat? There is a question from Anne Halim K. Yeah.
Sorry, let me review that. Which question? Sorry, there's a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay. Let me mention about the first question. CDP vs backup vs replication. What to be considered?
Can you know what is CDP?
I'm not sure. Maybe and
Is it
Halim K,
continuous?
can you?
Is it continuous
Yeah.
data? I don't know what P stands for. Is it a
It's a-
continuous
yeah,
data
data file.
replication?
Mhm. Change data capture,
Okay.
maybe.
Okay, so it's called CDC, right? Yeah. So what is
CDP,
vector?
yeah.
CDC versus replication versus backup, right? So it is definitely dependent on the resources, and it also dependent on the infrastructure you can provide with. So always it is always good to have a CDC in place, which is for you to have a availability of the database. But on top of it, even then, even you have a CDC in place, which is an expensive solution in many cases because you need to provide a lot of kind of infrastructure for that. But in spite of that, if there is an accident that happens in your primary side, that also gets replicated to your CDC in a continuous data capture, right? So you are not mitigating the risk here. So always it is there is nothing kind of equivalent to a good database backup and restoration tested thoroughly. So that is the first priority. And any other mechanism, for example, OS level replication or asynchronous synchronous replication or a CDC, everything will broadcast the data which is which is already gone through some accidental deletions or corruptions, everything. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, CDP is continuous
Protection.
data protection. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And the next question is log file vs database logging vs bin log, which one need to consider?
DB logging, log file versus DB logging. Okay.
Log file vs database logging.
Yeah, I think Faisal already answered, right? Log files are almost
Okay.
always better as it becomes easier to scan. Yes, that's right. I would also agree that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. Next question maybe also answered by Faisal. Yeah, in the replication or Galera cluster setup, what is the safest way to take backup without causing replication lag or downtime? Already
Yes,
answered
always.
by Faisal.
Yeah, Faisal also answered, right? Backup does not cause any replication lag. Yes, that is what we also call it as it's a total online backup, right? So it doesn't lock the database data pages for a long time. So, but as I
Right.
mentioned, it is always good to take a backup. The replicas, like what Faisal mentioned, that is always a good use case because the replicas are always used for a replication and also this read intensive workloads, for example report generation. So it is always good to configure backups on from the replicas. Yeah.
Okay. Also, next question is from N Halim K. Also, is the DB logging auditable give impact on DB performance? Yeah, it's already mentioned also, answered by
Right.
Faisal also.
Yes, yes. So it does,
Yeah, I agree.
because auditing is
Mm.
always definitely it does a lot of metadata inquiries, and it does capture some shared logs in it. So it is resource intensive, but at the same time, it gives you compliance needs and it gives you a complete understanding of what's going on with your environment. So it is always a compromise, right? So you need to balance it out and what is priority for you. So it is always a balanced benchmarking you have to do, and how much is the performance you can afford to lose because of the audit environment, and how granular you want the audit to be configured. So based on that, you have to take a decision.
Thank you. Okay. One more question from Suman. What tools or feature in MariaDB Enterprise are best suited for managing incremental plus full backup together? Yes,
Yes.
already answered by Faisal.
Yeah, we provide a tool called MariaDB-Backup, which is kind of, as I mentioned in the presentation also, it comes with various different switches. For example, for your compression needs, for your encryption needs, all these things, it has got various features. So you can go through MariaDB documentation to identify. But this is an excellent tool, and you can use that because which is very much vendor provided native tool. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a request from Mr. Chilik. Please send me a document architecture design that MariaDB when implementing horizontal architecture or microservices. Do we have it? Hansi, or
Please
maybe I
send
can send to you.
architecture design. Okay, see, architecture design is basically, it is up to you, how your business needs it. So every kind of a, environment, every kind of a use case has its own way of designing the architecture, right? So what we prescribe is what we offer as a product, which is what are the capabilities MariaDB as a product offers you. So you can choose and implement the way you want to have your horizontal architecture or vertical architecture according to your needs. So there is no standard architecture design that we prescribe to our customers.
Yeah. This last question, yeah, Mr. Alfian. Okay, there is let me check the question. Okay, let me stop this first. Okay, MariaDB Backup and Maria Backup and MariaDB Backup, is it same utility?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is. Okay. Okay, one more. This is last, yeah. How does MariaDB Enterprise help organizations scale their DR strategy as data grows?
Yeah, okay, it's a good question because data growth is purely based on your business needs, right? So, as an RDBMS, as an OLTP environment, it is not good to have data getting accumulated endlessly in your current environment. It is not healthy for the environment, even though today the storage is cheaper and you can afford to have storage. So there is always a compromise. There is always a price you have to pay. So it is always healthier to have a proper archival mechanism in place. And I'm sure, in many of the businesses, you may not be accessing your entire data every day in and day out, right? So for example, you have a 7-year data, 14-year data stored in the same location. It is definitely going to deteriorate your performance. So you should always on top of backup strategy, you should always it is healthier to have a proper archival mechanism in place from the application side. So logically you may want to prune your data, save it in a deep storage, Glacier or somewhere where in a deep archive storage, so that the current environment is always stay healthy. Yeah, that's what we prescribe.
Okay. Will you take one more question?
Yeah.
Because already exists
I'm
for 10 minutes.
already
Okay, one
running
more.
late for my next meeting. Sorry. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. Okay. How do you recommend handling the ITR in MariaDB? Should I rely on binary logs with the logical dumps or combine them with a physical backup?
Yes. So again, it is all, your environment specific. Like Faisal mentioned, it is a physical backup plus bin logs is always good to go, because logical backup is also, very fine granular. And so if you want to address all the failure scenarios, including entire instance failure scenarios, always physical backup is the best. Plus bin logs, of course, is the one that you can always go to the point in time recovery timeline. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you, Kanti. I think that's all for today. And yeah, if you need assessment or your MySQL, MariaDB environment, or looking for POC or demo migrating or converting from Oracle to MariaDB, please scan this uh, QR code. Then we will happy to contact you, and we can do a POC and demo for your company. And also next month we have a part 4 for the webinar series, avoiding vendor login and lower cost of Oracle dependent application with MariaDB Enterprise, will be held on 25th September next month. It's about the same time, 2 p.m. Malaysian time, and also 1 p.m. in Indonesian time or Jakarta time. Please register to join the webinar. And once again, thank you, Kenty, for the great presentations. We will see you next month. And also thank you all, everyone, every who joined the meeting today. And we will see you again next month. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.